In this video, I want to cover how you can stand out more as a striker in soccer by going over what areas you should be focusing over others and giving you some tips and ideas you can take into your matches to be more effective in this position. What's up, guys? It's Dave here from SimplySoccer, where we are helping you improve your game by releasing daily soccer tip, technique, and training videos. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that sub button and you turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon so you don't miss any of the videos that we release. Now, in this video, I want to cover some of the areas that you should be focusing on mainly, practices you should be doing often if you want to start standing out more as a striker. So let's cover the main areas a striker needs to be good at in order to stand out more. Now, what you have to realize with any position is you do not need to be good at absolutely everything. You want to focus and kind of hyper focus on the things that are going to have the most impact for you in your game. So for a striker, one of those areas is obviously goal scoring. So let's go over some of the things you need to be doing and need to be good at if you want to be a good goal scorer. So I'm going to break this down into basically three subcategories. And of course, there's more to it, but these are three things you can focus on. Number one is finishing. Number two is movement, and number three is confidence. Now, when it comes to your finishing, your ability to put the ball in the back of the net is one of your most important attributes as a striker, because let's face it, if you get yourself in front of goal and you can't hit the net to save your life in pretty much every situation, you're not a very effective striker, are you? And you definitely are not going to stand out. So finishing from many different situations, from many different angles, in many different scenarios is an incredibly important part of any striker's game, and is something you need to focus a lot of your attention on. Now, movement is incredibly important because in order to actually get the opportunity to finish, you need to be in goal scoring situations. And if your movement is poor, or you don't move that much at all, you're not going to be getting into the positions that you need. Movement includes smart runs to get in behind, runs that open up space for teammates, runs that allow you to get the ball more in space or get the ball even for a fraction of a second long enough to get your shot off. The best strikers in the world have incredible movement, and you'll notice a lot of the top goal scorers in the world score a lot of tap-ins. A lot of players like to disregard this and go, well, he only scores tap-ins, or the majority of his goals are tap-ins. But you have to understand, the ability to get in positions where you score tap-ins is down to very intelligent and clever movement. It's a skill. I mean, if you could score 20 tap-ins over 5 wonder goals in a season, I would take the tap-ins all day, because it really doesn't matter how you score as long as you do. So you might as well be smart and really focus on working on your movement, being able to time different runs, to make different runs, and know which runs to make in different situations so that you have more opportunities in front of net. And you combine that with your finishing, and then you have a recipe for success where you're scoring tons of goals. The last part I mentioned is confidence, because without confidence in your ability to put the ball in the back of the net, it really doesn't even matter how skilled you are in the area of finishing. Your finishing could be great in training, but if you don't have the confidence in matches to do it, again, you're going to be in front of goal missing most of your chances. A mindset I like to adopt every single time is I'm going to score. Every single time you get an opportunity, even if it's a really difficult opportunity, you need to think in your head, I'm going to score. And I don't care how many times you actually miss or score, every single time you need to be completely convinced that you are going to score your opportunity. Now, over time, you will become more instinctual about it and you won't need to think anything, and that's ultimately where you want to get to the point where your muscle memory takes over and your instincts take over, and you're just able to do it. But you need to practice until you get to that point. So mixing great finishing ability, which comes down to tons of practice, great movement, which comes down to practice, and I would also say analyzing different pros and yourself to see what kind of runs you need to be making in certain situations, and then working on your confidence are three of the main things that come down to being a better goal scorer. And these are the things I want you to focus on for now, because by focusing on these areas, you will find that you are scoring much more goals in your matches and that you're just a bigger goal threat in general. Okay, next main area I really think is important to be a standout striker is an area that's not as glamorous, but is very, very important for your team, and that's getting involved in the build-up play in the attack, or allowing, or being that person who allows your team to relieve pressure. So there are a couple things that I think are important to keep in mind when it comes to build-up play. The first is you need to be able to show for the ball or make the run and be an outlet for your team. So that means either checking to the ball or making the run into the channel so that you can be played in, or so that they can play the ball to you. A lot of times this will be checking to the ball with a man on your back and having to hold the ball up or combine with your teammates. Two very important things, and usually the only two things you can do in that situation. So you need to be good at being able to hold up the ball, protect the ball, or draw the foul when it comes your way, when your team is relieving pressure, trying to go on the counter, or just trying to get the ball into your feet. And you also need to have the ability to combine with your teammates in those situations, lay it off, and then spin in behind yourself. There's nothing more frustrating than the midfield or defense coming out with the ball and their striker being nowhere near the play, not even making a run, and not showing for the ball. Then they have to try and turn around and maintain possession. They don't have that person who they can rely on to hold the ball up or have it stick to them. So as a striker, especially if you're playing as a lone frontman, you need to be that player who's available when your team's trying to transition from defense to attack or just trying to relieve the pressure. Next thing I really think helps when it comes to build-up play, holding the ball up, combining with teammates, things of that nature, is your first touch. If you watch a player named Roberto Firmino, one of my favorite players, he is so good at hold-up play, even though he's not the biggest guy, because his first touch is incredible. He's always able to stop the ball dead or touch the ball in the direction he wants to go expertly, so that he's always able to maintain the ball, or is at least able to in most situations. Improving your first touch is going to help you in so many different areas on the pitch, and we'll get into other areas it will help, but it is especially going to help in build-up play when you have pressure on your back, you're trying to combine with teammates, you're trying to lay the ball off. And the thing is, if you lay the ball off and have a poor first touch, you've just ruined a potential counterattack, or you've just ruined, being able to relieve the defense from all this offensive pressure from the other team. Having a great first touch and ball control in general is so important for a striker in more ways than just this, but just recognize that it's incredibly important in build-up play to have a fantastic first touch, and it's definitely an area you need to make sure you are working on very often. Next area you want to look at and focus on if you want to become a standout striker is your unpredictability. Because let's face it, if you're a predictable player, a predictable striker, you're not going to be that effective in matches. Players will know what you're going to do, or they will know your limitations because you're being predictable out of necessity. So you need to be working on different areas that allow you to do many different things in matches. So one thing that is definitely going to help you be more unpredictable is to have more skill in your repertoire. This is the ability to beat players one-on-one. This is the ability to cut, turn, swivel at a moment's notice, and just to be able to mix it up. You also want to make sure you are taking risks. Nothing is more predictable than a player who never takes risks, although on the other end of the spectrum, nothing is more predictable than a player who always takes risks. You want to take calculated risks, and what this means is you're not taking risks every single time, you're not taking that player on one-on-one every single time, and you're not shooting the ball every single time. But you are when the opportunity presents itself, and you are mixing it up to the point where the defender does not know whether you're going to go for it or not, does not know if you're going to just simply pass it off or going to turn and take them on, does not know if you're going to shoot or perhaps fake it and play your teammate in. So you can see if you can confuse a defender in that way or make him not know what you're going to do, this puts him in a precarious position where he has to either make a decision and be decisive and then you do the other thing, or where he makes a mistake. So the more unpredictable you can be, the more dangerous of an attacking player you're going to be, or a striker, I should say, you're going to be. So those are some of the main areas I really think you should focus on if you want to stand out as a striker. Now, of course, there is more, but again, when it comes to any position in football, you want to focus on specific things that are going to help you stand out the most in your position. For example, you're not going to work too much on your slide tackling as a striker because your time would be spent better elsewhere. There's a thing called opportunity cost, which means if you're working on one thing, it also means you're missing out on another thing. So make sure the thing you're missing out on is something that wouldn't really have that much impact on your game anyway, and the thing you're focusing on is something that's going to bring a lot of results to your game. For example, working on your finishing as a striker, because if you work on it enough times, you're just going to score more goals in those opportunities that you get in matches. All right, guys, so that is how to stand out more as a striker in football. Now, again, there are many different things you can add in this. Take things as you need them, maybe add them to what you're already doing, but just remember that when it comes to any position, like I said, you want to hyper focus on a few things that are going to improve you and add as much impact to your game as possible. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like it and share it if you enjoyed it, learned something or got something out of it. I would really appreciate that. That does help the channel to grow and for the videos to reach more people. So thank you very much for that. Please click on one of the 2 videos that come up on screen if you want to continue to learn and continue to improve as a player. I put 2 videos up that are going to help you do just that. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.